My name is Alejandro Fuentes Burgos, and I'm going to present ethnography, participant observation, and thick data. Well, at first, we may have to make a brief summary of what is ethnography, what is the observation and participation in the daily life of a particular group or community with the aim of understanding their costumes, beliefs, behaviors, and social norms. In a business context, the ethnography is important to understand how a community behaves and why do they behave that well. That's why we need participant observation, so we can understand the customs, beliefs, behaviors, and social norms of each community. So why do we need participant observation? Well, we need it in order to gain more intimate understanding of the culture and social practices of the group or the community, as well as the perspectives, beliefs, and values of the individuals within it. We also need participant observation to gain a deeper understanding of the behavior and studying them in their natural setting, which provides meaningful information of their culture and their society. And why do they think they do the things they do? With the understanding of, with a deeper understanding of why do they make them. So this provides the participant observation in the ethnography provides data. So it's important to understand the difference between big data and thick data. First, big data is a quantitative way of seeing the data, and it refers to extremely large and complex data sets that are difficult to process and analyze using traditional data processing tools and techniques. What does this mean? Well, that the big data needs to be analyzed by softwares that can process that extremely large and complex data sets, and they are often visualized as numbers. What is thick data? Well, thick data refers to the qualitative, subjective, and often unstructured information that provides rich insights into human behaviors, attitude, and experience. According to Trisha Wang, they both are needed, but the thick data comes from the big data. The big data is the extremely large data set, and the thick data, it's all of that deeper understanding we can get from that big data in a qualitative way. So if we have like a huge amount of data sets that comes from a lot of interviews or questionnaires, the thick data is like a deeper analysis on those interviews that were more on the qualitative side, meaning what's important of the behavior and social context of the data that is analyzed. Trisha Wang on her article "Why Does Big Data Needs Big Data?" he explains that what is measurable isn't the same as what is valuable, giving that deeper understanding of what I just said. That the thick data is what is valuable for an organization, because not always the quantitative side of the data is the important one, or the ones that will provide us like more revenue, but the qualitative, the behavior and why the customers act the way they act is more important. So it's not about the numbers you have, but as the value those numbers have on the analysis you're having. Trisha One also explains the Nokia case. She explains that for businesses to form a complete picture, they need both big and thick data, because of each of them produce different type of insights and at varying scales and depths. What she explains on the Nokia case is that Nokia only focused on the quantitative area or the big data for them to make them customer experience. So that ends on the downfall of Nokia and them being bought by Microsoft, and all comes from they just only focusing on big data that relies on machine learning and reveals insight with a particular range of quantified data points. And it also isolates variables to identify patterns. They just took them as a whole, and it loses resolution. That was Trisha Wang explained on her article, that they can't seem to see the bigger picture of the problem because they didn't analyze the thick data, and they didn't rely on the customer experience and what do those numbers were telling them. They are just assuming with the large amount of numbers what was the Nokia experience for them, and that's why it ended, because they just focus on on the big data, and they give like very less understanding to the thick data that relies on the human learning, that reveals the social context of connections between data points, and accept irreducible complexity and loses scale. Sometimes it loses scale because you can measure them correctly. There are ways to measure the qualitative data, but it's not as complete as the quantitative data. So this raised the question, how do we get the right information when it's needed? Well, what Trisha Wang explains is that you have to focus on the type of data you need, depending on the context of the problem you're trying to solve. If it comes to the user experience, you have to know what the customer believe and what the customer need. So you need a more qualitative sense or point of view of the data. That's what you need, thick data. Well, when it comes to visualization of the data on large scale of data sets, or you need to just understand what do the customers prefer if it's a yes or no type of question, that's when you focus on the big data, because you can focus on a much larger scale of group, and that will bring insights according to the problems you're having. And the same happens with when you come to thick data. It's not the same to have 1,000 of yes or no questions, yes or no answers, when you can have like a deeper interview with maybe five of those 1,000 that can explain to you what is wrong with your product, or what are the flaws you're having, or the good things the product has. So what we need to understand about all this explanation is that data is complex. It's not easy to understand. So it's important for you to know which data are you going to use for your investigation or for your analysis in order to get a resolution of the problem you need, or to get some like important points or pinpoints for your investigation. That's why in an article that came from the reading, it also said that some of the marketing departments that are analyzing data, often they don't make the coding. They are marketers. They are not the codifiers or the softwares they are using. So sometimes they find it very complex to understand exactly what the data is saying. They are just doing everything according to the algorithm that is presented. So it's important to understand and to have clear objectives of what you need for you to get a conclusion or a resolution, for you to get the conclusion or the resolution you're looking for. So it's important to not only use these softwares or these AI products in order to get a quick answer, or to get like just an acceptance level. If you're not only looking for that, if you want to go deeper, if you want to make like an ethnography task for your organization to understand the behavior of a community, it's important to not only have that minimal approach with those softwares, but to have a deeper understanding and make the correct interviews in order to get the correct data that is going to provide the correct information and the best answer of all. And it will help the leaders of an organization have a better decision making in order to help the same organization. So that's all. We need to understand data is complex. You need to understand both points of view, and in this customer experience that we are focusing right now, you need to understand what thick data is, why does it need big data, and why does it is important to have these ethnography studies and participant observation in order to get the specific amount of data and the valuable data that you're going to use for further analytics. So yeah, that's what those readings were about. And yes, I hope you understand it.